Hey everybody, it's Techdadreviews. How you doing? It's been a long time since I made my last video, but finally we're back in the mix. We're back to kicking things off. We are going to be revamping the channel, and with that being said, let's get ready to unbox the Galaxy S21. So in front of us here we have the Galaxy S21 FG, and of course beside it we have the S20, two flagship devices, which will be unboxing the S21 5G and obviously doing a quick overview and comparison. But before we get started, let's take a moment to just do a quick shout out to our sponsor who makes this video possible, greenmobile.com. Canada and Ontario's largest TELUS mobility and Koodo mobility dealer. You can find the link for the website in the description below. Make sure to take a look and see what deals they have going on for you today. So let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. The Galaxy S21 5G does not come with a warp charger or a fast charger. It only is going to come with your USB-C component cable, and that is pretty much it. So let's go ahead and crack this open and just take a look at the Galaxy S21 and see what it looks like. We want to basically do an unboxing and a quick overview comparison compared to the S20 to see if it's worth your time. So once we open it up, you'll see we have the white color here. Very beautiful design, very beautiful device, two-tone, so obviously you get the camera bump here, but the different accent colors, the silver on the white, they have different combinations and variations, do make the device pop quite beautifully. And then of course you can see it's much less of a curved display than what you get on the S21, where you can actually kind of see the, or S20 I should say, you can actually see that curve there where you can't necessarily see. That's much more of a flush design like the S21 series. Now obviously it is a little bit curved, but just not as curved. Inside the box, we're going to get obviously our quick start guide and information. You can see you're going to get your SIM eject tool, and then inside of this box here, you're just going to get your USB-C cable. Like I said, no fast charging brick. And then of course your quick start guide as well. So that's pretty much it for the unboxing experience. In a second, we're going to clear this all off and just take a quick comparison look at the two devices. So just quickly taking a look at the exterior of the device before we get into the internals and the specs. We just want to kind of compare these two devices side by side, S21 and obviously the S20 5G. So size comparison, they're pretty much identical. The S21 is slightly heftier, and you can see obviously the way the chassis kind of comes across and then goes back on the camera bump there versus the S20, which is just flush on the side. So that obviously is one aesthetic difference. You have the same layout for the power buttons and obviously the volume up and down. Some noticeable differences obviously are the camera designs. You're still getting the same 3 cameras in the back on each one. They are a little bit different in terms of specs, but we'll get to that in a bit. In terms of overview of the device, we have the speaker at the bottom on the S20, and then obviously the SIM, if we can get it in focus here, is going to be at the top of the device there. That's the SIM eject. Now this does support expandable storage where the S21 does not. If we move the S20 out of the frame for a second and just looking at the S21, again, in terms of design and buttons, the same on the side here. On the bottom, this is where it differs. We get that in focus there. Let's see. Almost in focus. There we go. So the S21, you can see the SIM eject tool is actually at the bottom along with the speaker and then obviously the USB-C port. Other than that, they are pretty much identical in terms of design, just with the actual screen being more flush, whereas on the S20, we have more of a curvature display. So that's pretty much it for the external of the devices. Next, we're going to be looking at the software. Before we jump into the software of the S21, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor at Green Mobile. And made possible thanks to greenmobile.com. Do some good. Ontario's largest Koodo mobility and TELUS mobility dealer, where you can get all of your plans and phones at a discounted rate. Be sure to check out their website or head into their stores. Of course, on their website here, you can see the live chat support where they'll reply to you typically with any business hours or within 24 to 48 hours. That being said, you can also browse their website for business plans, EPP, and more, as well as checking the full listings of all the available stores in the GTA and Toronto area. So in terms of the software, we're actually looking at pretty much the same. The S21 is going to be running Android 11 with Samsung One UI 3.1 out of the box, where the S20 is actually going to be upgradable to One UI 3.1 and Android 11. It actually does have the update currently on the S20. In terms of some noticeable differences for software, before we get into too much of the specking, I will actually point out that if you swipe to the right, on the Samsung S20, they have this new feed called Read. Whereas on the S21, if we actually just do a swipe over to the right, we're actually going to get into the Google Now. So this is much more integrated, I would say, with standard stock Android, whereas the S21 still doesn't have all those refinements. In terms of the refresh rate, the S20 is going to have a 90 hertz refresh rate, but you do have to turn the high refresh rate on, whereas the S21 does have a variable refresh rate, meaning it will change based on what you're doing. So it might go to 120, it might go to 60 hertz. It's all going to depend on what you're actually doing in the device. Whereas the S20, you do have to manually turn on the high refresh rate or turn it off. It's not going to adaptively adjust based on what you're doing. We are still going to be retaining features such as the double tap on the power button to quick launch the camera. From there, obviously, we do have a couple new modes. We have the single tape feature, which is obviously really great for photography purposes. And then you're going to get in night mode. And just looking at some of these here, we have AR doodle, pro mode, panorama, food, night, portrait mode, portrait video, super slow mode. Director view is actually a new one, I believe, that essentially allows you to do both a front-facing camera and rear-facing camera at the same time. So those are some notable differences. The battery is still going to be the 4,500 milliamp, so it should get you through about a day and a half of usage. So just as a quick overview of the S21, we are talking obviously the 3 cameras on the back. We do have a 64 megapixel camera, followed by a 12 megapixel sensor, and that's an ultra wide, and then obviously a also 12 megapixel wide camera as well. In terms of screen, we're basically looking at a 6.2 inch screen. We are looking at 128 gigabyte storage capacity on this particular model. I believe it does go all the way up to 512 gigabytes in terms of variance and storage capacity. Both of them are going to be Bluetooth 5.0 capable and Samsung DeX, as well as Samsung Pay, all the goodies that you normally get. And then obviously you are going to, on the selfie camera, you are going to get 10 megapixels, the front facing camera. And that is obviously going to be a little bit different and spec increase as comparison to, say, the S20. So that's pretty much it for today's video. It's just a quick unboxing and first look at the Galaxy S21. Obviously, when you're comparing it to the S20, it is an amazing device. I mean, the S20 is a good device in its right as well. It does ultimately come down to value, what you're looking for from a device. If you have an S10, I would highly recommend the S21. If you're coming from maybe an S9 or an S8, I would say that S20 is definitely a viable option. Still gives you really good bang for your buck. It also comes down to what you're looking for, whether it be value or cream of the crop, high-end performance. Obviously, there are other variants like the S21 Plus and the S21 Ultra, but we can look at those at a later date. Shout out again to our sponsor at greenmobile.com for making this possible so I can bring you content early and exclusive content partnered with Green Mobile. Make sure to check out their website, which will be left in the description below. Also, if you have any questions or have any suggestions for videos, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. Hopefully, I'll see you guys soon for another video. This has been Tech Dad Reviews. Thank you very much for your time. Peace, love.